There has been a lot of information flying around the last few days in regards to the Idaho 4. Information comes out, then information comes out to contradict that, then information comes out to contradict that. It's all a bit messy. NewsNation have caused some of it, in my opinion. People online absolutely fangirl out over Brian Enton because they loved him in the Gabby Petito case. But I think he has reported information in the last few days that has come from one source, which is dodgy journalism. NewsNation as a whole are very aware of when things pop online and when they'll get a lot of views on it. Like the Gabby Petito case, they seem very aware or tuned in to what's trending online and how much they can milk it. If things are going slow in the case or no real new info, they'll find the info, they'll find something to talk about. And they also, some of their news journalists do a lot of speculation, which is fine to do, but when you're an established mainstream media source doing it and you start to report on information that may not necessarily be true, it's a bit of a slippery slope. They're not the only ones that does this. Lots of mainstream news, especially over in the States, mainly over in the States, do some terrible reporting when it comes to true crime cases. They're all cut from the same cloth. Fox News Digital, in the Debbie Collier case, did some really awful reporting. They reported on misinformation as facts, didn't correct themselves, just really dodgy stuff. Lazy journalism. It's not journalism. Like, are they journalists or are they entertainment shows that are pretending to be journalists? Because sometimes it gets confusing. There isn't any decent journalist that would report on information when it's coming from one source. The Murder Sheet, Anya and Kevin, they get a lot of grief online for their coverage in the Delphi case, but you can be sure that they're not reporting on anything that doesn't come from two sources. And that's just basic journalism. I assumed that was a standard across the board. Apparently not. But Brian Enton reported that Kaylee's injuries were more brutal than Maddie's. They milked an interview that they did with Kaylee's parents. First, this news broke from a quote-unquote source, and then a couple of hours later, they showed the interview basically. Is it true? Probably. Moscow police came out a couple of hours later, releasing a new press release that kind of went against it. It's probably true. That is something that they could probably work out. They know the injuries their child had, of course they do. The parents of Kaylee and Maddie are friendly and they probably share that info with each other. And I feel bad for all the families, obviously, of the victims, I really do. It must be all very surreal, still fresh for them. It's going to take a long time for them to process this and grieve for their child. I get as well that they are so frustrated. They might think not much is happening behind the scenes and they're struggling to get info, but stuff is happening behind the scenes. A lot of stuff is happening. It's a nightmare though, complete nightmare situation for them. And I worry that some media stations are taking advantage of the family's need for info and using this to set up meetings or interviews and trying to get some information from the families rather than giving them information. It's all getting a bit confusing, messy, and it will probably get worse before we get some clarity in this case. It's going to take time for them to process the forensic evidence. Like I said, Moscow police put out a press release last night that kind of contradicted the parents, but did it really? I didn't think they should have gone near that. But I'll link it in the description. You've probably seen the headlines from this in some other videos, but please read the whole thing if you haven't, because it's 5.5 pages long. It's really good. It's good info. A lot of people on YouTube, they don't link it. They don't link the press releases because I think YouTube doesn't like if you put external links in your description or something like that. But go and have a read of it. I'll have it down below in the description box. It has the updated information, investigators, tip line, and a section called Rumour Control, which I really like. This case might be getting a bit messy, but if it wasn't for that type of updates and this type of stuff, it would be even crazier. And a lot of innocent people will be getting dragged online. The only thing, like I said, I don't like here is the first bullet point. Kind of goes against the family, but I don't know, I just don't like it. The reason I don't like it is I don't think the families are lying about what they know. Moscow police also aren't lying when they say we didn't officially tell them anything. They didn't, not officially anyway, but you can be sure they know how their child or how many times their child was stabbed. A coroner would tell them, and if they don't have an autopsy report, it would have been read out to them. They didn't get the info in an official update from Moscow police, but they know. Like, what would you do if it was your child? Wouldn't you push to know? I'd want every detail, as painful as it is, and I think most parents would want to know everything. And that's all they talked about really in the first bullet point. They said that no additional information was released to the family or to the public. And they're talking about Brian Enton, NewsNation and that interview. They said at this time they still have no suspect that has been identified. They talked about Murphy the dog. That was interesting actually. They said the dog was found at the residence on the morning of November 13th, but he was found in a room where the murders were not committed. There was no evidence on the dog, and there was no indication to them that the dog had entered the crime scene. There was no blood on him basically. Then it gets slightly confusing because they say when the dog was in the house, he was found in a room where the crimes were not committed when the officers arrived. They haven't figured out yet where the dog was physically located when the murders took place, which should be pretty easy to figure out if there's no dog footprints around the place or no blood on the dog. Was he not in the same room where you found him? Like, was the door locked? Did he run to that room during the murders and then get locked in there? It's just small bit confusing. They talked about Kaylee's stalker and kind of running down that lead. Again, that's something that the families were talking about. They said they're still looking into information about Kaylee having a stalker or information about a potential stalker. Any info, send through the tip line. But it looks like the tips that they've got so far or where those stories originated from, they've ran down those leads and they've cleared those people. They talked about all the tips, phone tips, email tips, digital submissions, and they're still looking for more. They believe people have information that they need. And it looks like especially they're looking for kind of information regards to Ethan and Xana in the time leading up to the murders. So I think between 9 p.m. and 1:45 a.m. They know where they were, but they're looking for information on any interactions that happened, contacts, how people travelled, anything unusual at all about that time frame. They want information on that from people. Then in the section under rumour control, they still have that they have not changed their belief that the murders were a targeted attack. However, investigators have not concluded if the target was on the residents or the occupants. And like some of the updates we've gotten in the last few days, whether it be officially or not, seem to kind of contradict each other. It feels like the police are a bit lost. I hope that's not the case. I don't think it is. I believe the forensics will solve this case. And it's just a matter of patience and waiting for it to come back. And that's it really regarding the new information. Have a look at that document and have a look at all the pages. You'll see the new information, the investigation timeline that they have, and the rumour control. I'll leave it there. Oh, and before I forget, all my members, there's a new video up from yesterday from a little cliff walk. It's under the members tab and in the members only videos. Have a look and you'll see it. You might enjoy it. Good luck. God bless. I hope everyone has a nice day.